Good morning. We are recording this service for January 17th of 2021. This will be the Pasadena Buddhist Temple's HoOnKo service, a gathering to express our indebtedness to our denominational founder, Shinran Shonin. I will begin the service by chanting Shishinrai, which is in ancient Chinese, but it is a way of expressing our reliance upon the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, the Buddha, the teachings of all the Buddhas, and the community that follows these teachings. I then will ask you to join me in the chanting of the Sanbutsuge. Namo Amida Butsu, 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 Namo Amida Butsu. Shishin kei ilei namo shochu hu shishin kei Namo shochu ho shishin kei ilei Namo shochu so. Today, on this occasion of the year 2021 HoOnKo service, here on January 17th of 2021, the members of the Pasadena Buddhist Temple, our friends and associates, wish to reaffirm our reliance upon the three treasures of the truth. We rely upon the Buddha, we rely upon the Dharma, we rely upon the Sangha. Namo Butsu, 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 Namo Butsu. At this time, please join me in the chanting of the Sanbutsuge. Busatsu Daimuryo Jukyo Sanbutsuge Kogen Gigi Ijin Mugoku Nyode Enmyo Muyoto Sha Nichigatmani Shuko Enyo Kaishnonpe Yunyaku Jumoku Nyorai Yogen Chose Murin Shogaku Daion Koru Jippo Kaimon Shojin Dammai Chie Itoku Muryo Shushokeu Juntai Zennen Shobuten Hokai Gujin Jinno Kungon Gaitai Mumyo Yokunu Te Sonyomu Ninno Shishi Jintoku Muryo Kukun Kodai Chie Jinmyo Komyo Itho Shindo Daisen Ganga Sabuten Daisho Ho Okado Shoji Mihu Gedaten Fute Joi Kainin Shojin Myode Sammai Chie Ijo Gose Tokubuten Fugyo Shigan Issai Kuku Itha Dayan Keishi Ubuten Yakusen Nokuman 無料大小収入語で供養一切使徒小仏不尿愚道検証不逆非尿語で小仏世界夫婦影無臭節道光明師匠変死小国尿で精進偉人難量両型仏国土第一五種奇妙国尿内音二無等々ガト愛民道達一切自法来生春熱症状意図が国経楽安穏古仏神妙税が神聖発願の日力小小欲自法生存知恵無下上量子孫知が神行軽量神死食毒中家業精進人獣不敬ナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブガニヤ宿毒平等性一切どんもないしなおにょあんらこナマンダブルマンダナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブルマンダナモミラ仏ナマンダ仏ナモミラ仏ナマンダ仏ナマンダ仏ナモミラ仏ナマンダ仏ナモミラ仏ナマンダ仏ナマンダ仏ナモミラ仏ナマンダ仏ナモミラ仏ナマンダ仏ナマンダ仏ナモミラ仏ナマンダ仏ナモミラ仏ナマンダ仏ナマンダ仏ナモミラ仏ナマンダ仏ナモミラ仏ナマンダ仏ナマンダ仏ナモミラ仏 Hello again. This will be the Dharma message for our HoOnKo service being produced for the Pasadena Buddhist Temple for January 17th of 2021. We regret that we can speak with you only in cyberspace as of yet. We do all want you to be well, and for now, being well and being safe are inseparable. This is our most important service of the year, and I'll begin by reading Rennyo Shonin's letter summarizing briefly his 8th generation grandfather's teaching, Shinran's teaching. Rennyo wrote this letter, Shonin Ichiryu, about 530 years ago, and again is one of his shortest letters. I'll read it first in Japanese in the formal way, and then I'll read it briefly in English to discuss it at the end of my Dharma talk, as we are trained to do. If you would be kind enough to listen with me to Rennyo Shonin's letter, Shonin Ichiryu. Shonin Ichiryu no gokanke omomuki wa shinjin no motte honto terare soro sono yue waもろもろの造業の投げとってて一心に見るに奇妙すれば不可思議な眼力を通して仏の方より往生は事情せしめたもそのくらいよ一年ぽき入所上始終とも釈子どのゆえの正明念仏如来我が往生はただめたまいしご恩法人の念仏と心べきなりあなかしこあなかしこ Namita Butsu, Namita Butsu, Namita Butsu, Namita Butsu, Namita Butsu. Now I will read the English translation. I don't know who translated this. This is for the Canadian Kyodan 30 years ago. And I'm not sure which ministers did this, but this is in English trying to capture that letter. Shonin Ichiryu Sho. Chapter on Shinran's teaching of Jodo Shinshu. Shinjin, or trusting confidence, is the core of Jodo Shinshu, as taught by the Shonin, by the sage. The reason for this is that by abandoning all other practices and relying on Amida Buddha with singleness of heart, our deliverance is assured by the Buddha through the incomprehensible power of the original vow. The status of being assured of deliverance is known as entering the ranks of the truly assured at the very instant of awakened faith, or Shinjin. Believe that all subsequent Nembutsu becomes the Nembutsu of thanksgiving or gratefulness to the Tathagata for this assurance of our rebirth in the pure realm at the exact moment of death. So he taught. Now again, today is our HoOnKo service, a gathering to repay our indebtedness to our denominational founder, Shinran Shonin. And if I'm counting right, this is the 758th year that we've held this service. Not in Pasadena, but Jodo Shinshu Buddhists have been holding this service for 758 years. And here in Pasadena, I think it's about our 62nd or 63rd year we've held this service. We call the service HoOnKo again, which literally translates as a gathering to repay our indebtedness. It is again our memorial service for our denominational founder, Shinran Shonin. This service is held as near to the exact day that he passed as is convenient, and Shinran Shonin passed away on the 16th of January in 1261. Now, most years as we deliver this service, in my Dharma talk for Shinran's memorial, I go over about a half dozen anecdotes from his life. But this time, I only want to discuss one anecdote, the final anecdote, which is his last statement, his last known words. Shinran became ill of something like a flu, it looked like. He was on his deathbed in January at the age of 91. At a certain point, he was obviously dying, terminally ill, and his daughter Kakushini asked him, "What should we do when you pass away?" And she was actually asking, should we do a funeral and then a 7th day and a 49th day, or I know you don't do 49th days, so we just do the funeral. That's what she meant to ask. He didn't do 49th days in his day. His answer, Shinran Shonin's answer, is, "When I pass away, throw my body into the Kamo River so that it can be food for the fish." His daughter did not do that. Rather, he was cremated, and his cremated remains are still kept in our head temple in Kyoto. The first HoOnKo service was presided over by his brother on the 16th of January in 1261. We've been doing it ever since then. Kakushini, his youngest daughter, was there at his side, and she wrote her mother a letter that has been lost, describing Shinran's last days. What has been preserved is a letter in reply to her from her mother, Eshini. Following the deaths of her first daughter and her second son's wife, Eshini had returned to the Echigo area, present-day Niigata, to help care for her grandchildren and to take care of the work on the farm. So she could not be at his side when Shinran passed away in 1261. Receiving the letter from Kyoto, 1263. Receiving the letter from Kyoto, Eshini replied to her daughter, saying that, "We have no doubt that your father entered the Pure Land at the exact moment of death. He was a person of deep faith." And she reminds her daughter that Shinran insisted that it does not matter what state we're in when we die. Shinran's heart and mind had opened to this teaching, to the teaching of a fundamental vow, a promise to all of us, a promise of awakening, a promise that Amida Buddha will make all dreams come true at the end of our lives. Shinran had awoken to the fundamental promise to liberate all suffering and all deluded beings. for anyone who has responded acceptingly to the Buddha's promise, to the Buddha's vow, even once, even for an instant, death is an awakening. Death is all dreams come true. This was Shinran's understanding. This was the teaching of our stream of Buddhism. But, we might wonder why his daughter and his wife are talking about this after his death. And it could just be, as scholars have suggested, that Shinran perhaps died feverishly, incoherent. And it is consistent with his teaching that that would not matter. What state you're in when you die is not what determines what happens after. It may be that I will be in a distressed state when I pass. That doesn't matter. What matters is the connection that we make throughout our lives, the many connections we make throughout our lives. And that one connection, the matter of Buddhahood, is simply connecting to this promise. What matters for Buddhahood is an instant of time when our hearts, minds, and bodies essentially say, yes. Yes, I accept, so to speak. Yes, that would be good, or really just yes. Yes, for an instant. Yes to the promise of freedom and happiness for all suffering and deluded beings, for all of us. The promise of Amida's vow, the intent of enlightened living, is the awoken well-being of all. The awoken well-being of all is what the Buddha promises to us, to all of us. We don't have to deserve it. We don't have to firmly and doggedly believe in it. Day in and day out being so sure. No, you don't have to. As the truth of life is gentle, forgiving, and caring, we are included. We are all included in the Buddha's promise of freedom, joy, and fulfillment together. Togetherness in the pure realm. You will have noticed that I have not yet made any reference to the letter I read at the beginning, and that's how we're trained to do this. I don't always do it this way, but we're trained to read a formal passage from our scriptural tradition and then to talk about what happened at breakfast and talk about very personal things and very slowly wind around to what we had read. And so I'll read that letter in English one more time and just say what it is that I'm trying to draw out of this. What's Shinran's fundamental point? That his 8th generation grandson, Rennyo Shonin, whose portrait is just behind me here, what did Rennyo tell us in this letter? Reading it again in English this time only. Shinjin, trusting confidence, is the core of Jodo Shinshu as taught by the sage. The reason for this is that by abandoning all other practices and relying on Amida Buddha with singleness of heart, our deliverance is assured by the Buddha through the incomprehensible power of the fundamental vow. This status of being assured of deliverance is known as entering the ranks of the truly assured at the very instant of awakened faith. We may believe that all subsequent nembutsu, all subsequent saying of the nembutsu becomes the nembutsu of thanksgiving to the Tathagata, to the Buddha, for this assurance of rebirth in his land. Again, in Japanese, some of you follow it. In English, some of us follow it. What is this saying? I think it was the Myokonin Shoma who was actually illiterate. Most of these famous 19th century, early 20th century Jodo Shinshu teachers were not illiterate at all. But he was. He couldn't read. But he always carried the seiten, like I have. This is the Jodo Shinshu seiten, the collection of the sacred writings. And sometimes people knew that he was illiterate, and so they would take the book and say, "What does that say, Shoma? What's that say?" And he said, "Shoma, you are free." And they'd turn to another passage in the scripture. "You can't read Chinese. What's that say?" And you say, "Well, that says, Shoma, it's going to be all right." This says, "Shoma, you will be a Buddha." That's the truth. You don't have to read the English language version. You don't have to understand the Japanese language version, read by a more trained priest. It's a beautiful little letter. All you have to understand is the Buddha woke up to the truth of life, and the Buddha is sharing this truth with us. The Buddha is guaranteeing our enlightenment. It will be well. All will be well, and all will be well, and all manner of thing will be well. This trusting confidence in the promise of awakening is said to be the cause of our enlightenment. Even a split second of sincere openness to this teaching establishes our certain enlightenment in the future, the certainty of our awakening in the future. Even a split instant of opening to this. It will come at the exact moment of death, if not before. The Buddha is reality awoken to itself. Reality itself is good, caring, and accepting of us. The many appearances to the contrary notwithstanding, reality is good. The Buddha awakens to reality, is reality itself, cares for us and accepts us just as we are. Even that briefest moment of hearing the teaching and or perhaps saying the name of the Buddha establishes the future that you will be a Buddha. Let me give you a negative analogy. I got shingles again this year. I'm one of those guys that doesn't hit too hard. Well, I got shingles at the age of 71, second time, got it at the age of 56, because when I was 6 years old, I had chickenpox. I didn't give it any thought. I had chickenpox when I was 6 years old. When I'm 51, I suddenly got a bad pain in my, 56, pain in my back. It was the shingles. It was the same thing coming back. Well, that's a negative analogy. But that one moment of trusting in this teaching, it's done. You will be a Buddha when you die. It doesn't matter if you convert to another religion. It doesn't matter if you become cynical and negative for the rest of your life. The Buddha, life itself, cares for you, wants you to come into the family, wants you to enter into the light. It doesn't matter that you don't deserve it. It doesn't matter that I don't deserve it. The door is wide open. The Buddha wants us to walk through the door to truth and goodness. All will be well, and all will be well, and all manner of things will be well. Just like I got the shingles without planning to, I will get enlightenment without planning to. I will get freedom, happiness, and goodness without planning to, because there have been these moments in my life when Namo Amida Butsu sounded like the truth, when Kimyo Jinji Po Muge Konirai was the Buddha calling to me, when Namanda Buddhamanda, Namandabu, Namandabu, Namanda Buddhamanda wasn't just my voice, it was the Buddha's voice too, the voice of life itself calling to me. This shinjin, or trusting confidence, is percolating inside of us. It's been given to us by the Buddha, and it will take us where we need to go when the time comes. So forgive the negative analogy of chickenpox and shingles, but awakening is settled into your body, heart, and mind, and it will manifest on the deathbed, if not before. You will awaken. A new life of light and joy starts for us, unfolds for us at the end of this life. This is what Rennyo's letter is trying to tell us. And Shoma was right, that the letter and the sutras and all this complex thing, when you look in there, it says, Greg, it's all right. It says, Kyoko, you will be a Buddha. It says, Alan, you will be enlightened without fail. That's what it says. In complex, interesting ways that we may wish to study, it tells us that we will be well. Everything is going to be all right. This is what Shinran Shonin tried to tell us in his 82 years of studying and teaching the Buddha Dharma. Everyone who attends this temple or watches this video has been exposed to Shinjin, has been exposed to trusting confidence, has been exposed to the promise of enlightenment, and it is percolating inside you now. It's too late to get away. You're going to be a Buddha in the future. Trusting confidence in the Buddha's promise is a powerful kind of wellness. Just as illness can creep into our body and come back later, wellness can flow into us from the Buddha, from the goodness of life itself, to be manifest more clearly later. Once exposed, wellness grows inside of you, becoming shinjin, becoming stronger, making you stronger. It's like that. We engage today in this service commemorating I think it's the 758th year since Shinran Shonin passed away in 1263. I had said 1261 at one point. 1263, it was a Southern District Minister, Reverend Fujitani, who proved that about 30 years ago. They had thought it was 1262, and he showed it was 1263. Shinran passed away, which means by the Western count he was 90 by the Japanese way of counting, 91 years old. He spent again 82 years studying the Buddha Dharma and trying to share it with all of us, teaching us to trust in a surrounding goodness, a goodness that is the compassion of the Buddha, a goodness which will be there when we need it. Sometimes we say the Buddha's name aloud to revel in our confidence that this is how it is. And if I may close on that note, close on the note that it will be well. Things are going to get better. You're going to get better. I'm going to get better. We are going to wake up. This planet is waking up. Truth is waking up to itself. Life is waking up. On occasion, we say the Buddha's name to remember we're part of this great positive process. As you wish, please join me in Gassho, posture of respect and peace, and in saying the Buddha's name a few times, if we may, together. I rely upon the source of limitless wisdom and endless life. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Da Butsu, 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 Namo Da Butsu, Namo Da Butsu. Thank you very much.